Read all the stories about BYU sports no one else has heard. Go to KSLSports.com for exclusive columns by BYU insider Mitch Harper. That's KSLSports.com.
Welcome back, everybody. It's another edition of First and 12 right here on KSL News Radio. Happy Tuesday evening to you. Mitch Harper, Alex Kirry, our weekly dive into the Big 12. The conference is making waves. I don't know if you saw this, but Brett Yormark making the rounds, not just on social media, on TV, glad-handing all the media moguls that are around. Good move by him. I like that he's aggressive. You and I talk about this all the time. I love how aggressive Brett Yormark is. Sometimes it feels a little thirsty, though, doesn't it? But I'm okay with it. I'm okay with this is a guy trying to market his conference, man, and that's what you got to do in 2025.
I'm just disappointed Commissioner Yormark hasn't come on this show and given us some Big 12 bourbon like he did Barstool Sports.
Now, not just that.
Not that we're going to consume that. Full disclosure,
Mitch,
but still.
Mitch, you go to New York. You tell him Brett sent you. I'm going to set you up with some appetizers. I'll give you a 2-for-3 deal. It's going to be amazing.
People are hearing that right now and thinking that's a joke. He really did that to Alex back at Big 12 Media Day.
He wanted all of us from the KSL Sports Zone to go down. Check out my wife's restaurant in Manhattan. Tell him Brett sent you. I was like, this is hilarious. And I'm just going to walk into places in New York and say, hey, Brett Yormark told me to come here. They're all, this is Gino's Pizza. Get out of here. Takeaways from week 2. Sputtering again in this week, too. I'm not saying that I don't think people underperformed necessarily. I mean, some teams did. Arizona State, Kansas State, we talked about how those are two, like, surprising. Oklahoma State, we knew was not looking good, but, man, it's kind of gotten to a dire situation for them. But the biggest takeaways for me are that you have some really, really strong teams still at the top. And I think that there are some teams who could still turn that corner. I think BYU is one of those teams. Utah's, I think, already there. You know what I mean? Like, that's a team that, in my mind, feels like that they're a top 25 team. I know that everybody's worried about the rankings, right? Last week, everyone's going, no one watched that Utah game. And then this week, it's BYU got fewer votes, even though they won by 3.5 touchdowns over Stanford, and they only let them have 3 points. It's like, yeah, but ask yourself the standard of the Big 12, or the standard of the top 25. If you're a BYU fan, or if you're any team that's out there, one, how could you say, I will definitely put that team ahead of another team in the top 25 right now? I can't. And I don't think BYU is there yet. In my mind, I'm going, it doesn't feel like that they have done enough to be a top 25 team. The type that we see at an end of a season where you say, wow, they had a good season. They're a top 25 team at the end of it. I don't think we're there yet.
The only issue that I have with that is just we see with the media in the AP Top 25, they carry over some stuff and their feelings of a team and a program from the year prior, and that carries into this season.
Yeah, or even legacy.
Right. Yeah. Whereas BYU, they had a great last season, going 11-2. Yes, the quarterback changed, and I think that had to recalibrate things. But, they've done a lot through the first 2 weeks that says, I don't know, I'm with you. I don't feel like they should be a top 25 team right now. I'm okay with them being outside, but I think when you look at how they size up other programs, they tend to give that bump for the previous year or legacy, whereas BYU's getting none of that. So it begs the question, what does BYU have to do to get any sort of respect, because they've got a legacy of winning over 5 decades and so on. And that's the case with a lot of Big 12 teams. I hate that Arizona State goes into a road venue
in the SEC.
In the SEC, the toughest league in America, as everyone labels it. And look, the SEC is off to a great start in its non-conference matchups, but Bama goes on the road, plays a 2-10 team. They lose, and they got hammered. But against Florida State, they stay in the poll. Why didn't Arizona State get to stay in the poll? That's, I think, the issue that I have with how the Big 12 teams get viewed, is where they lose a game where they're a favorite and they go on the road. There's no benefit of the doubt. It's just, they're a fraud. And there's no built-in margin for error, where these other leagues in the Big 10, the SEC, they get that. And I think that's the challenging thing from a branding, from a narrative standpoint of the Big 12. They don't ever get the benefit of the doubt. You lose one game, and then you instantly fall, whereas the SEC, they've got 11 teams this week, and some of them have taken L's already.
So Tennessee beat Texas A&M 77-0 this week. Eastern Texas A&M, and that was good enough to take them up 7 spots. That's the kind of thing that people look at and they go, okay, Tennessee went up 7 spots for beating an FCS team that I'd never even heard of, to be honest.
We've been high on TCU, you and I have, and look, the program that was getting so much hype in the preseason, North Carolina, TCU goes out and hammers that team. Why didn't they get any benefit of that bump in perception? Like, just because North Carolina probably is bad, but still, like, they went out and hammered that team like they are bad, and they didn't get any sort of bump.
So what kind of, like, what was the, should you have beat them by then? Should it have been a 60-0 game against North Carolina? Like, I don't know what you have to do. Now, on the flip side, the voters are guessing. That's why you see Tennessee go up 7 spots, because it's a bunch of people going, I think, oh, yeah, Tennessee's pretty good. Let's put them up there. Then you see teams that only fall a few spots, or they fall, Arizona State dropped out of the top 25 altogether, right? BYU actually dropped spots with the votes. Now, part of that is a function of teams getting shifted down, and that's part of the thing. And you know how this AP poll works, too. BYU won't play this week. The defense will allow 0 yards, and they will go up in the AP poll. You know how this sneak in. I know that's how this works, because the teams losing in front of you is just as important as you winning as well. So it doesn't make a lot of sense at the beginning, but yeah, legacy's there. And you know what? Put your elbows out, because what happened to Utah this week? They beat Cal Poly, who's terrible, and an FCS opponent, and they did it in the fashion that you're supposed to against an FCS team, and they go up 5 spots. Why? Because the noise on the national level was so loud last week, and they were like, okay, so, well.
Course correction, it felt like.
It really did. It felt like a bunch of people were like, no, I'm paying attention. I watched the games late. But they didn't see the BYU game late, apparently. I do think that those late games do affect it.
They do.
But I don't think people need to worry about it yet. Right now, ask yourself if your program really is a top 25 team. Not compared to other teams right now. But ask yourself the standard of being a top 25 team in the country, notwithstanding all the people in front of you in the poll. Is your team good enough for that right now? I think for BYU, they still have a little bit of work left to be able to prove that.
I agree. And I think a program like Baylor, why not bump them in?
Yeah.
Give them the benefit of scheduling difficult games out of the gates. They go Auburn and SMU. They lost to Auburn, sure, but they went on the road and beat an SMU team that'll probably be a 9-win team, I would imagine, in the ACC.
How many points? 45, I guess,
48,
to win it? Yeah.
In double overtime. So, like, why not put them in? Why is their 1-1 not good enough compared to some SEC teams? Like, again, Bama lost to a Florida State program that was down and out, and they were a massive favorite. And I'm pointing to them because they always get the benefit of the doubt, Bama. But there's other examples of that in the poll, and I think someone like Baylor doesn't get that benefit of the doubt. Arizona State, they don't get that benefit of the doubt. And that's the challenging thing, where even though the Big 12 has power conference access and they're going to, their conference champion, more likely than not, will always get one of those automatic 5 bids. But it feels like a little bit of a tightrope where you almost have to be perfect, which is more challenging than ever before in college football.
All right, we'll take another break here. When we come back, we've got our third segment of the first hour here. One of our favorites, you get to hear some of the sound from across the entire conference from over the weekend. The Big 12 Sound Roundup coming right up on 1st and 12 right here. It is KSL News Radio. Mitch Harper, Alex Kirry. Stay right here with us.